tornado, crushing against the raging winds and causing the damage effect to pop up at the point of contact. There was a moment of silence, and then something appeared within the tornado and was shot in our general direction, so we all took a step back as to not be hit by it. The next moment, there was a monkey arm that was fired like a javelin at the location where we were just standing. Was that supposed to be a rocket punch, or what? It seems that only specific body parts are being fired in response to certain actions. In other words, just in case, I showcase that Aradville rebuild is at the ready to be swung at any time here. That seems to be more than enough to keep the perverted woman silent. Right now, it is important that we do not lose any time on pointless bickering. But there seems to be one thing that I do not understand here, and what would that thing be? If it is an attack that we cannot possibly do anything against, then why fight back in the first place? I see. A thing like that is not at all unreasonable when you think about it. Also, it is very unlikely that this red tornado is an invincible object. But in case it is, all we need to do is to just spread about and wait it out. Nice and easy. Of course, just because it reacts to our action, the possibility of it being an invincible object cannot be completely ruled out. However, I do not want to think that a red monster would be equipped with invincible mechanics. By the way, Tottery, do you have any effective ways of attacking that tornado from a distance? There are ways to do it, sure. There is one in particular, but it is not anything all too powerful, like the things that Deep Slaughter-san here uses. Also, it can be used a limited amount of times, so please don't expect anything too crazy out of it. Don't sweat it. When it comes to me, I am more or less the same. I have some powerful moves up my sleeve, but I can only use them once, or maybe twice at best. Attacking the main body is not all that bad of an idea in the first place. However, assuming that even if we were able to get close enough to the main body, across the projectile vomiting tornado without any damage being inflicted upon us, there would be a whole another problem waiting for us, the multi-dragon heads ready to fire breath and beam attacks at us without mercy. Quite their reward waiting for you at the goal point. Chapter 348, Dragon, Part 13 Part 2. To be perfectly honest, I was growing really tired of it. Or not that, my motivation here was slowly starting to dwindle. Mostly because it was a surprise encounter with one clown out of the box chasing another. I am yet to reach my upper limits or to go past them, but in reality, I wanted to maintain a steady pace here. Just like driving a car. Something like stepping on the accelerator and flooring that bitch. Accelerator? When we encountered Night Prololican, it was a surprise encounter as well. But because I had a connection with that monster, my motivation just continued to burn without ever burning out. Say, Sanraku-kun, I think that something seriously amazing is happening to our friend, the tri-headed Tyranno. NHMM? At the current moment, it would not be that much of a stretch to call the tri-headed Tyranno one huge walking wound. There was little flesh left on its body, and what was left was torn to pieces and looked more like bloody paste than anything else. It would be no surprise if the next attack or two it would take directly would prove to be fatal. Taking a look at it, it seems that one of Tyranno's heads, the one to the far right, had been crushed almost flat. There was constant damage effects flashing from it and threads of red blood squirting on the ground. It was a sight that was invoking both a sense of pain in the viewer and sheer horror, but even so, something like that was not enough to make the tri-headed Tyranno stop doing what it was doing. As if trying to convey the very nature of its physique and the scars covering its body all over, all of the three heads let out a tremendous roar. The moment all of the three heads of the Tyranno let out that roar, for a moment out there I thought that its scars were growing bigger and wider. That roar was a declaration, and it was the most serious declaration of them all, that the tri-headed Tyranno would defeat its mortal enemy and kill it no matter what, even if it had to give its own life for that purpose in the process. When it comes to the damage effects in this game, they are usually displayed as red in color. Even when you cut through the ghost or undead, or creature that has blood colored in a different way, the color at the damage effect is always going to stay the same, no matter what. That is why the moment you see something that is not colored red, It makes you understand it more vividly and much faster. Is it my imagination, or has the damage effect turned black out there? I have heard a similar story from someone from the 10p.m army, when they put on the assault team and tried to bring it down. Apparently it turns that way when the Dracarys Tyrannosaurus's HP falls below certain level, turning it into a critically wounded state. Is this what a fatally injured state looks to this guy? Because I think that it would still be able to bring down a whole bunch of people in this state. Because if it really was just like that, then you can say that whoever programmed it that way must have had really messed up sense of humor. Currently, there were black damage effects oozing out of the tri-headed Tyranno's entire body, looking like black smoke or miasma. They keep on moving forward with every second, shaking and changing their shape, making it difficult to pinpoint what exactly they were supposed to be. Of course, since the Great Red Devourer was nothing more but an inorganic amalgamation, it showed no reaction to that new development. Or rather, its reaction was completely inorganic as well, which was strangely fitting. That is, the red tornado increased the speed at which it was shooting monster parts, and the number of parts shot as well. Its logic behind that action certainly must have been that if it kills the origin of this new and unknown factor, then the threat itself would surely disappear. Hi, the former squeal belonged to Miss Useless number 1, Arena, Miss Useless number 2, Hesh, and Mr. Useless number 1, Emule. The latter squeal belonged to Tottery, Deep Slaughter and myself. After all, what we had witnessed just now was a tremendous shock for us players, and for the NPCs and Emule it was more than enough to basically shut them down on the spot. As for Emule, he simply reverted to your plain and ordinary bunny. The beaks of the two-headed eagle were broken. As for the cow's head, its horns were shattered beyond recognition. The monkey with only elongated hands, its fingers got twisted to the points that they almost came apart. And as for the Great Red Devourer and its main body, one of its heads got bitten off by the tri-headed Tyranno in an instant. What was that thing? Natural armor? I don't even want to know what levels of vitality this thing must possess. It looks like it's black and hard, so maybe vitality is not the only stat that got a sudden boost. I can totally see its strength increasing as well. Well, I can also see that the monsters ejected from the red tornado were just splattering against that hardened armor, so it was not simply hard. Eh? Can you really defend against something like that? Seriously? This must have been some sort of a trick, and those usually do not last long, but the possibilities they are able to create for a single moment. But I don't care about that. Now then, since you're going to be an ultimate meat shield for us, dear Tyranno, we might as well help out as much as we can here. All right, the people of the forest will keep on acting as supports. Just being able to harass the monster parts that this tornado is spewing out is more than enough. I don't know if it is for better or for worse, but Totoro does not step out of his role as the brave hero even for a moment. Going to inspire the people of the forest further, I strengthen my grip on the Aradville rebuild and rush towards the Great Red Devourer right after the brave archer. Say, Sanraku-kun, can we talk for just a moment? The hell do you want? Make it quick, before I crush your nose flat. No, it won't take that long, and it is a very important story. Honestly speaking, I could have simply ignored her and carry on, but she's been relatively well behaved thus far, so I decided to at least listen what she wanted to say here. What is it? Hearing my tone of voice, Deep Slaughter laughs. It was not the smile of someone who enjoys making others uncomfortable with toilet humor. It was also not the kind of smile you would see on the lips of someone whose personalities keep on changing from one to another. Right now, I'm not having that much fun. It was the kind of smile I have seen on the face of Nutcracker, those seconds before the service of spell creation online was coming to a close. Chapter 349, Dragon, Part 14 Part 1. Not having fun? On what basis you say that? Just one look at everyone here is more than enough of a proof for me. If we were really having fun with this fight, we would not be having such dull expressions on our faces. Are you sure it's really about that? And that it's not because it's the middle of the night, and some of us might be getting sleepy? On the contrary, I think that being able to feel drowsy even in the middle of a fight like that is proof enough that we are all just human beings here. I mean, I myself am somewhat feeling half asleep by now, but even so, full dive gamers can overcome such minor obstacles by sheer willpower alone. Or that is what I keep telling myself. No, you don't understand. I'm not talking about biological fatigue here. Yeah, you would most likely call that tension, I believe. That's actually really intelligent way of putting things, especially for someone like you, you know? If you want me to, I can change my voice and way of speaking right away. Any requests? Like maybe, ragged breath and panting voice, as if I was getting seriously drilled on the bed at the current moment? Or maybe a panic attack impression? Both of those things sound pretty similar, especially if you have experienced VR horror games. But is it not that in 80% of cases behavior like that leads to a death flag? Like, extremely painful and gruesome kind? I can see that this woman is still neck deep in the gutter. Should I burn her slightly, just to remind her of her circumstances? Oi, oi, it was a joke, a joke. You hear me? To liven up the conversation. Besides, with my abilities, it is true that I can be whatever personality I want. And you would not even know which is the real me, right? While Deep Slaughter laughs in ever so changing voice. I keep silent. That way it will be much faster for her to continue rather than trying to urge her. If I tried to do just that, it would have been even more troublesome. But in other words, she was saying that her motivation to keep on doing this was low. I honestly have no idea what to say to that. When it comes to me, you see, I want to see you at your absolute full power. I want to see you sweat, vomit blood and tremble in exhaustion. And while doing all that, I want to see you laugh it all away and continue to do your very best. Sanraku-kun. Ugh. Then, Deep Slaughter reaches out her hand and gently touches my cheek with it. I mean, what she was touching was the fabric of the bird head mask that was still on my face. Also, keep your filthy hands off of me. I'm going to report you for emotional harassment. But here we are, in the middle of some stupid quest, forced to fight a raid battle without any indication of it, completely unprepared, and said battle only keeps on dragging on. That is why I get it, why I'm not feeling motivated at all here. I really understand it, dude. Could you get to the point already? You are starting to lose me here. If you keep on stalling like that. Or could it be that she's actually doing that on purpose, ignoring my words? Deep Slaughter still laughs. But after a short moment she eventually removes her hand from my cheek. While she was laughing like that, the edges of her mouth lifted higher and higher. Contrary to her word, if you looked at her just now, you would say that she was having the greatest time of her entire life. That is why I have come up with a certain idea. And this idea, or call it project, if you will, of mine, is sure to force you to give it your absolute best. Right. I would advise you to shut that little project of yours down right here and right now, and bury it so deep underground that no one will ever be able to find it. I cannot do that. Besides, let me explain before you pass judgment on me here. I knew it. This woman is batshit insane. Normally, every single action that you make carries some sort of risk of death with it. And that is why you need to be wise and choose your words and actions carefully. It is because of that careful stomping around the minefield called life that the tension arise. The first part of my project is relatively simple. Sanraku-kun, I want you to raise the level cap on your avatar as soon as possible. Right. Please tell me about that project of yours in greater detail. Huh? What am I, stupid or what? Why did I answer her so eagerly and almost right away? You? God damn you, Deep Slaughter. You bitch. Talk about an attitude here. First you are all cooperative, only to start calling people names like 2 seconds after. Not good. Sanraku-kun, not good. At this rate, not a single girl is going to like you, you know? But I think it's nice. It's like a housewife that keeps on clinging to her abusive husband, even though DV is clearly not okay. But anyways, don't you think that a married woman or housewife are a little bit sexist? I mean, those words rob you of your freedom and basically let the whole world know that you belong to someone else. Aridville, omitted, deed. Whoa there. Talk about a close call. It was only the heat, but I think it would have been more than enough for me to lose some major HP there. I can cut you with the blade right away. If that is what you want here. Phew, that sounds just like Park now, doesn't it? It certainly has that immoral vibe to it, but sadly, my current proposition is way more romantic in nature. While still smiling, Deep Slaughter rubbed her cheeks against Aradvol's side and then took my hand, a gesture that seemed almost like a flirt, or perhaps an invitation. She then dragged me to the side and started to explain what her project would be all about here. How about we try to slaughter 2 bunnies at once? While the battle is still raging, let's kill both the Great Red Devourer and Dracarys Dinocerberus. What do you say to that? Sanraku-san, are you really sure it's okay to do this? Yeah, those guys are capable in their own right. So I think that they can hold up the front lines until I'm done here just fine. It's not that I do not possess any experience with going along with other people's plans. In fact, I have a whole lot of experience like that. Up until now I was mostly following our Demon Lord Pensilgton's instructions to a certain extent, but in the end this is an MMO, and when it comes to the MMOs, there is nothing worse than following someone's orders rather than crafting your own unique playstyle. Chapter 349, Dragon, Part 14 Part 2. But in this particular case, I honestly feel like I'm riding on a rocking ship packed full of explosives. What's all, right next to me on that ride is Deep Slaughter, casually smoking a cigarette after cigarette like it was no one's business. Of course, that huge grin of hers never crept off of her face. Also, since she had a really nasty sense of humor, she would bring the cigarette closer and closer to the explosives just to mess with me. Such strong was her desire for ruin, even if it was going to kill her as well. I swear to God, one of these days you are so getting divine punishment for all of that. But taking my current situation into account, it would be extremely bad to try and punish her on the spot. So for the time being I had no other choice but to continue this carpooling session with the devil. That being said, if we were to look objectively at the strategy she presented to me, and with no kind of bias to boot, that strategy of hers has a huge amount of percentage speaking for its success. Deep Slaughter's strategy actually consists of using the highest tier of teleportation magic here on this battlefield. The teleportation spell is called Euros Biblioangulmas, and she would cast it on the tri-headed Tyranna here, lifting it high in the air and using its giant mass as a meteorite that would then be brought down right on top of Great Red Devourer. Of course, that strategy also assumes that the tri-headed Tyranno would die in the process. That is the strategy that Deep Slaughter managed to come up with. However, I was playing a huge part in that strategy, and to do that part right, I would need to lift the level cap on my avatar, all for the sake of protecting Deep Slaughter while she is going to cast the spell's incantation, for as a result of being of the highest tier, the spell has a really long chant. The caster must stay motionless and not stop chanting, and they get a huge amount of aggro. That is the price one has to pay for something like that. I must say, for the time being everything about that strategy sounded perfectly normal and nothing seemed to be too out of the ordinary. However, there is one point that I have my doubts about. It is the credibility of the magic spell itself, that Euros Biblioangulmas. Say, Emule, is it actually possible? Can teleportation magic really do stuff like that? Mew 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 mew. I guess it all depends on the application. When talking about magic, it's pretty much to each their own style, so I cannot be all too sure. I see. Don't say gee. Thanks for nothing. Don't say that was hardly any help. Don't say some help you are. Hey, stop hitting me. Stop hitting me, I said. Emil must have figured out what I was thinking for. He started to pummel my head with his small fists. That being said, we were still right in the middle of the monster raid battle, and we were running through the village's residential district, trying to reach the building in the center of the village. Our destination is of course the Altar of Awakening, the facility that allows you to lift the level cap, the place that my close acquaintance Kyotomat must have also visited not too long ago. Now, I do wonder, am I going to level up on the spot there? Was the EXP I was gaining ever since hitting level 99 extended still accumulating? I guess we are going to find out soon enough. That bastard, could it be that it expected us to try and get here? Yeah. Now I could feel it. I was starting to get motivated more and more. And even if I was not feeling motivated here right now, there is a simple way to prevent that. You just simply have to impose some sort of handicaps or a challenge onto you. Or at the very least is how I approach this situation. That way I can easily combine opening the level cap, the raid battle and the new strategy we were about to put into action. I have heard some stories about this facility from Kyotomat, but due to the fact that she is someone who is tainted by the Bakumatsu online to a huge extent, I must assume that some of those stories were actually blown way out of proportion. When it comes to the new skill reached once the level turns into 3 digits, does not require any special conditions. It is basically something that is assigned to you at random once your level turns from 99 to 100. Also, the skills that are not already in your possession will be upgraded accordingly depending on how much you manage to level up. Sounds like fun, I won't tell. Since I have fought so many strong enemies, I wonder just how much EXP hides behind that word extended. Could it be that I have accumulated so much EXP that once I level up I am going to be able to body all those enemies around us with ease? Yes, my motivation meter was through the roof right about now. It seems that we have arrived. Well, since it was the only building like that here, there was no mistake about it. Maybe it just that I expected something to happen once we got closer. For example, displaying some sort of a super advanced technology. Even though this is supposed to be medieval fantasy setting, nothing mind-blowing, but even something small and insignificant would have been an added flavor here. It may have been well over 100 years or even more, but this building still retained its right metallic luster. On the contrary, all the other buildings in Thos village were showing the severe signs of deterioration. This building withstood the test of time. It was the only thing in here that still stood proud and shiny as the day it was probably erected. The only sight of technology in this otherwise trees and soil exclusive environment. Even if it was not the altar of awakening, it was most certainly a place of great significance and importance. This place, it should be the altar of awakening, isn't it? I think so. The place had some sort of ornamentation to it placed at equal intervals, looking like the flipped legs of a jellyfish. There were also other things here, looking slightly titled, and actually lodged into the ground. I think I have seen something similar before, but where? It also looks like some sort of a flat disc was dropped right on top of the structure. Could this be the tears of that? What was his name? I don't know if a disc like that could be called tears, but no. Snooping around can wait. Now it's time for action. Now then. It's time for me to level up for the first time in quite a while. Chapter 350 Part 1. Chapter 350, Dragon, Part 15 Part 1. Player name, Sanriku level, 99 extended job, mercenary, dual wielding, money, 1000 mani HP, health points, 80 MP, magic points, 50 STM, stamina, 100 STR, strength, 100 dexterity, 100 agility, 100 technique, 80 vitality, 5320, luck, 129. Skills, flashing Senbuya Keen Naiwata formula drift level 1 instant visibility, moment sight. Agar Tram level 1 trial traverse level 1 Yoshitsune's possession gravity 0 level 1 frit float moon wolf's pride. Managam's pride, secret technique, Yutsurama Kagami burnout level 1 right accelerator level 1 blood warfare late vanisher dirty sword level 1 sword demon deadly sword art half moon cut participation ceremony Sengoku Taikiri level 1 sword art, spinning blade persistent melodic foot. Equipment, right hand, Aradval rebuild left hand, Mau's mirror shield. Dissipator, head, mask of bird eyes vision, Vit plus 20, body, Lucan's carved wounds waist, Ragnar Iman's girdle, Vit plus 5300, feet, Lucan's carved wounds accessory, storage key, inventory. Accessory, sealed lightning, Levin trigger, disaster hand. Accessory, Lapis's star cloak accessory, small demon doll, goblin doll, regenerates a small amount of HP over time. Accessory, bone doll, skeleton doll L, slightly increases the stamina recovery speed during battle. Even though it is a VR game, with the same kind of stats and skills accompanying me for so long, I feel like it is some long-running show or serialized novel. There is a sort of familiarity to it, but I would also like for it to change already. Plus, looking at it right now, my build is something that a vast majority of people would call unoptimized. But what of it? Not every build needs to be optimized, and experimentation and individual tastes are what is most important in games, right? Right. So, this thing looks like a platform that is going to move, but why isn't it moving? Could this be? Yes, that's it. This must surely be the sign of an event that is fast approaching. Should I strike a pose for the occasion? Right, here it is. Sanroku-san, could it be that you instinctively knew how to operate this device, even though you see it for the first time? Nah. I just decided to strike a pose at random and it just so happened to align in time with the device's boot up. There was a ray of light being emitted from one of the claws that were placed inside of here, and that ray of light was shot somewhere near where a mule was standing. Then it got reflected from there and it happened to shine right on me. Speaking of lasers, I still remember the bright light of that tail laser that the red dragon used to fire at me, and I would lie if I said that it was not making me feel really uncomfortable right about now. However, I don't think that the facility for the players use would have instant kill functions installed in it. Sanroku-san, are you alright? Yes, I'm quite alright. I just needed to readjust my pose a bit for a little bit more dramatic effect. So I was worried for nothing? I should really start thinking more about myself here. Yeah, look, I'm terribly sorry about that, buddy. Being surrounded by so many laser lights, I just could not stop myself from striking a pose as if I was enjoying the Saturday night's fever to the fullest here. At the same time it felt as if a whole lot of snipers were all targeting me at the same time. It is not something I would like to experience here, but apparently it was more than enough to cause the platform to get a move on and do what it was supposed to be doing here. The presence of Plan 2 pixelated body confirmed. Beginning the process of body examination. Ah, I see. So the Plan B is even mentioned here, huh? I was always wondering, if the players are the option number 2, then what could possibly the option number 1 be? Although it must be something clearly distinct from us players, we must be the more reliable option, since even someone like Utanid was ready to reward us and to make us stronger. Not to mention that almost 9 out of 10 NPCs